Hello, in this video we will talk about the other type of loops, which is the for loop. So far we saw the while loop and we saw how the while loop works, and we said the while loop is very good when we have some type of dynamic thing going on in terms of giving the user an option to quit or to continue with the iteration. But for the for loop is a little bit different, and we're going to see what is the for loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and see first what is the for loop. Okay, how does it look like? Okay, for loop is just similar to the while loop. We have the header of the while loop. Okay, and then we have the statements or the body of the while loop. Okay, it has to be indented. Okay, so let's take a look over here what we have in the header. In the header we have first we have to start with the word for. For is a recognized word by Python, and Python knows that this is the beginning of the header of the for loop. Then after the for, it comes the iterating variable. This could be any name that you want to name. It's going to be a variable. You can have it X, you can have it number, you can have it name, whatever you want. And this is going to be the variable that we're going to be using. Okay. N also is a must part in the for loop header, and it's also recognized by Python, and then it's followed by a sequence. We're going to talk about what we mean by the sequence. The sequence we saw before, we saw the lists. These are type of sequence. Tuple is also a sequence, and strings. Okay, so the sequence we mean over here, it could be anything. It could be a list, tuples, or strings. And there's some other things that we're going to learn later. But at this point, let's take a look at it and think about it as whatever comes after the N is going to be sequence. So what does that mean? That means that every item in this sequence that we have, even if it's a list or a tuple or a string, each item will be assigned to the variable that we have during each iteration, starting from the left to the right. We're going to see some examples that will help us to understand it. Okay, and then after that we finish the header by a colon. Okay, what is the for loop? Let's take a look at this for chart over here. Okay, so we have the program starting normally, just like we did with the while loop. Okay, at a certain point you will hit the header of the for loop statement. Okay, so if the header, if this gonna result, like if you have still some items inside this sequence, what's gonna happen? You're gonna assign one of the items from the sequence to the variable, and then you're gonna execute the statement, and then you go back again. If there's another item in my sequence, I'm gonna assign it to my variable and then execute the statements, and you keep going over and over and over until when you come back again to the header, you find out there's no more items in the sequence. I checked them all. Okay, at this point there is no more items. You're gonna skip the loop and then you're gonna continue to the rest of the program. Okay, let's take a look at this example and we're gonna trace this example. Okay, so this example meets all the requirements that we talked about earlier. We have the for loop, which we started, and then we have the variable, which we named it over here count, and then we have n, and we have a sequence, which is a list from here, as you see it over here. And then we have the colon. And here is the body of the for loop. Okay, so what's going to happen when I run this one in my program? Okay, well, let's take it line by line, as you see it numbered over here, and let's see what's going to happen with the count. So when I first start my program, I'm going to start at line number 1. Count is going to take the value 1, which is the first item in my sequence. So when I execute the body, count is going to be equal to 1. Okay, so what's going to happen? That's the first item in my list. Okay, count is going to be equal to 1 right now. I'm going to go to line number 2. Count is still 1. I'm going to print 1, and then I'm going to go to line number 3, and then I'm going to print yes times 1, which is going to result yes. Okay, then I'm going to go back again to the header of my for loop. Do I still have items? Yes, I still have items. I haven't checked. I have 2 next after the 1. So I'm going to assign count to number 2. And then I'm going to go inside line number 2, print number 2, and then go to line number 3, print yes times 2, which would result yes, yes, as you see it here. Okay, then I'm going to go back again here to the for loop. count is going to be equal to 3. Then I'm going to access to my body over here, the body of the for loop. I'm going to print number 3, then print yes 3 times. As you see it over here, printing yes 3 times. Finished with number 3, I'm going to go back to number 1. Do I still have items in my sequence or in my list that I haven't checked? No, I don't have anything. I checked them all. That means that the for loop is done. I'm going to skip it and continue the rest of the program if I have any. Okay, so here is again, just to give you a reminder, the way or the structure or the syntax of the for loop. For, then you have the iteration variable. You can name it whatever you want, in sequence, and then you have the statement. When we execute it step by step, as you noticed over there in the previous example, the heading serves 2 purposes basically. Each time the header will execute, it will give an implicit value, which is an item from my list to the variable that I have. And next, for each execution of the heading line, the statements of or the body of the for loop is going to be executed. Okay, usually we actually utilize the variable or the value of the variable that we have inside this body of the for loop. Okay, let's take a look at the other example. Okay, so in this example, what is going to be the result over here? I have 4, the variable name is color, in, and this is my sequence. So if you run this example, it's going to print to you, first it's going to print red, then blue, then green. Okay, it's going to take one by one, starting from the left to the right. Okay, what if I have a string? In this example, I said for x is the variable name, n, and between quotation marks, banana. This is my string. Well, remember, strings are also sequences, okay? And if I say what is going to happen for the x first is going to take it's going to be assigned to the value or to the letter b. Then I'm going to print b, as you see it over here. Then x is going to be assigned to a, and then I'm going to go inside the print a, and so on and so forth until there's no more letters left in my string. So the output's going to be like that. The word banana, each letter is in different line. Okay, well, do I have to include, what if I have a big list? Do I have to include the entire list in the header? Not necessarily. If I have a list that is defined earlier, for example, list 1 equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, I can refer to it in my header. I can say for I in list 1, and then print I. Okay, so I first is going to be 10, 20, 30, and 40. And as you see it over here, this is the output. I print them in one line because in my print statement, I said that. I said like end equal to, between quotation mark, there's one space. Okay, and the last print is just to print in a new line, just give you a blank line. Okay, what if I have a tuple? Does it work? Same thing, it works. Same way. X is going to be assigned to the first item. Then I'm going to go inside the loop, print it, go to the next value, which is 3, 5, and 7, and you're going to see the output over here. Same thing I did before with the previous example. I don't have to have that tuple included in the header. I can use the object name or the tuple name instead of the tuple if I have it defined over here. Same thing with the string over here. Okay, so I don't have to have the string by itself. So this is the basic things about the for loop. So please practice all these examples, and we're going to see more complicated and advanced examples in this module.